What's up guys, Sub-Zero here, and welcome to my top 5 comps of patch 12.6. The 12.6 patch has shaken up the meta a lot. A lot of the comps that were on the top before have fallen down to be absolutely worthless right now. Thinking of stuff like Irelia and just playing strikers in general feel like so much worse now. There were huge AD nerfs across the board to so many different champions. So champions like Gangplank and the Twinshot reroll variant that was played before also seem worse, but it's still playable. So yeah, I wanted to just give you guys my rundown of the top 5 comps of this patch, and we are starting, as usual, we go from worst to best. We're starting with the 5th best comp, and that is Draven Carry. So this is a Debonair Draven variant that uses Bodyguard front lines. I think this is just in general a very solid comp. You can put a lot of different items on Draven. Ideally, he is your Debonair VIP, though if you end up hitting a Draven 2, you can always build Draven 2 and build a VIP Leona, or maybe super late game end up having like a VIP Zeri as your actual carry. But ideally, you want to have a Debonair Draven. Draven really likes Guinsoo's Infinity Edge. He likes Giant Slayer a lot, because he's just auto-attacking so much and sitting in the corner with infinite range, really just anything that is going to synergize with him auto-attacking a lot, which is, you know, most AD items. You also don't really need armor reduction on him, stuff like Last Whisper if you have the Debonair version, because of how the Debonair VIP buff works. So yeah, it's in general a pretty solid comp. Not much to say. You tech in the 3 syndicates. I don't know why I say Tekken every time, but it's just something that has become part of my lexicon, so now I'm going to go with it forever. But you play 3 syndicates as well, Braum plus Morgana plus Zyra, because they fit perfectly with Debonair. So you get Scholar buff off of Syndra, you get Bodyguard buff off of Leona, and then you get Enchanter buff, not off of Debonair, but off Orianna, and that synergy is completed with Camille, who gives you Clockwork, and also gives you the Challenger for Draven. So yeah, this is a very well put together 8 units, an easy way to cap out your board at level 8 if you're rolling down, and you find a Draven 2, or if you get like an early Debonair Draven, you can super easily play this. So yeah, I think this is a very solid comp, not like Giga Broken. You're not going to see people stomping every single lobby with this, but a very solid comp to give you like a 4th place at 3rd place maybe. And also if you hit it early enough, it can just carry you to super late game, and then you can cap out by, you know, putting in a Zeri, maybe getting like 5 Debonairs with a Debonair spat. A lot of stuff you can do with this comp. So yeah, just in general, very solid comp. All right, the next comp is Twitch Reroll. It's back. Though, I mean, did it ever really leave? I think this comp is still very solid. It is still the exact same variant of Twitch Reroll that's been played since basically the beginning of set 6.5. So eventually you cap out your board with 5 innovators, but you're really starting by rerolling for these units, and you can even really just reroll for the 4/1 cost, which are Ezreal, Camille, Singed, and Twitch, and then also maybe the Warwick. You're probably not hitting Echo 3 because you're rolling down a lot of your gold at ideally level 5. If you econ up super hard, you can roll down some at level 4, but I don't really suggest hyper rolling down all your gold at level 4 unless you hit like 6 Twitches, and then maybe you can hit a super early Twitch 3, but like it's pretty risky, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that. I would recommend just going to level 5 and slow rolling for all of your upgrades, and once you get to the point where you're close enough, just sending it, rolling your gold down, and trying to hit Twitch, and ideally these other units as well. Twitch, of course, the most important unit to hit, and the other ones are always good, but really you only need to hit Twitch. And after that, as you saw in the already completed comp, you're going to push levels, you're going to put in a Zillion next, and then eventually, once you go level 8, you're going to put in a Seraphine, and you're going to have a nice 5 innovator synergy. Seraphine synergizes super well with stuff like Twitch, because Twitch is going to jump on the enemy backline, and ideally, if you can get the Seraphine ult to hit the Twitch, that's going to buff his attack speed, so really great synergy there. Get the Clockwork off Camille, Challengers, Chemtech as well. Just a very well figured out comp as well. You know, these are the perfect 8 units to make Twitch work out really well. So yeah, this is, in my opinion, the 4th best comp. So we had a little non-reroll, little reroll, you know, keep a little variety. Our next comp is going to be Arcanists. So right now I'm showing an 8 Arcanists variant of the comp, but this spot, this 3rd spot, is really dedicated to just any number of Arcanist comps, and I'm going to show another one right after this, but right now I just want to talk a little bit about 6 Arcanist or 8 Arcanist. So I think vertical Arcanists are strong now. For a lot of set 6.5, they didn't feel great, but with the nerfs to all the AD champions, I think they actually feel really good. There are 3 main carries that you can play. It's either Ahri carry, Malzahar carry, or Victor carry. Hard to like set out to play Victor carry, but if you get super late game and you get a Victor 2-star, then, you know, play Victor carry. He's going to melt boards. The nice thing about Ahri and Malzahar is they share a lot of really good items. They both really love blue buff and really love Gunblade. Even with the nerfs to Malzahar's mana this patch, they increased his maximum mana. Blue buff is still fine on him, though you can also slam Shojin on him. And that also works decently well on Ahri, and it also works great on Victor. So you can really slam blue buff or Shojin for any 3 of these units, and it'll work fine. Ahri likes blue buff a little bit more than Shojin, but Malzahar, blue buff, and Shojin are about the same, and Victor, you'd actually think he really likes Shojin, and he does, but the fact of the matter is that getting the first Victor cast off is really the biggest problem that you're going to run into. If Victor can cast once, most of the time you're going to win a fight if you have good damage items on him. So blue buff is actually quite good on him because it gives him a lot more starting mana. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward. I mean, you just play all the Arcanists. If you want to play this board, try to get Yordles in early. If you high roll and early Vex off minions, then I would absolutely think about playing this comp. Lulu doesn't necessarily have to be played, but if you get an Arcanist emblem, it is amazing on Lulu, and you can potentially even find a Lulu 3 if you get Yordles in really early, so that's something to think about as well. And yeah, this is the 8 Arcanist version, but you can always play like 6 Arcanist and then add in other units, whether that is like Scholars, if you want to get in like a Silco plus something else like Silco Renata and just have Scholars in so you cast infinitely, that's pretty good. You can also get in like Bodyguards by putting in like a Braum, and I mean, you can even get in just Braum plus Darius and then have in Syndicate with Ahri, or you can end up putting in other Syndicates. You know, you can put in like a Braum plus, where is she? Morgana, and then figure out a way to get another Enchanter. You know, if you're playing Lulu or playing some other Enchanter, you get an Enchanters, Syndicate, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of different stuff you can do. You could even get in Mutants theoretically with this, but if you're playing Mutants, it's a little tough to get in unless you have like a Mutant spat, because none of the Mutants really have great synergies with any of the Arcanist units. But yeah, this is a vertical Arcanist, and so sharing the same spot is another Arcanist variant. This is Twinshot Arcanists. It's a comp that I've seen a lot of people talk about coming out of China, a lot of people on the Chinese server playing it. Full disclosure, have not played it very much myself, but I've heard a lot of people say it's pretty strong. I've seen people do pretty well with it. So I think it's definitely a comp worth adding to your repertoire. So it's basically the same comp we just had there, except you want to add a Lucian and a Corki. This completes your Yordle synergy, so you can play these 3 Yordles for the entire game, generate a ton of econ, and also, you know, get the Lucian and get Twinshot in, and then slowly add Arcanists. Swain is also really useful because he completes your Hextech synergy as well with Lucian, which is just a nice little bonus. And he's also a really good Arcanist and can also be a really beefy frontline late game if, you know, for some reason you get him to 3-star. This can be played as a reroll comp, where you roll for Malzahar, Vex, Lucian, and Corki, and, you know, even potentially Swain. Or you can play it as just a get really strong and go fast 9. If you hit level 9, you can put in Jinx, and this makes the comp super good. Gets in your 3 Twinshot, gets in your Scrap, also just gets in Jinx, which is a really strong unit. So that's one way to cap out the comp. But yeah, this is a really interesting variant. Something definitely to think about if you get, say, a Triforce augment that encourages you to play 3 costs. You can play these 3 incredibly strong 3 costs. It's also just good if you end up high rolling Twinshots, and also you have a good Yordle opener. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting comp. I'm excited to see a lot more people play it because it's very interesting to use the Arcanist buff to give your entire team 50 AP. If you give that AP to Lucian and build, say, like an IEJG on him, that AP is going to scale so well with the crit and, yeah, actually just the crit of the IEJG that it's actually nuts. So definitely look to build IEJG on Lucian if you're playing this Arcanist variant. So that is the 3rd best comp. Let's move on to our top 2. The 2nd best comp we have here is Warwick. It is still quite good. It was demolishing a lot of lobbies last patch and is still going to keep demolishing lobbies on this patch unless they like nerf it in a patch 12.6b, but Warwick is still very strong. This is the generic variant where you're running 5 Chemtech, 4 Challenger, but there's a ton of different stuff you can do with this comp. You can, add Camille if you have +1 Challenger and get in 6 Challenger. You can get in 7 Chemtech with +1 Chemtech. You can really the only units that you're pretty much always going to be playing are Warwick, Tryndamere, and Quinn. And then outside of that, you can kind of figure out whatever. But these are the units that you roll for: Warwick 3, Tryndamere 3, and Quinn 3, and also potentially Zac 3 if you can get it. Those are the units that you want to reroll for. And if you hit all of those and you get these items, which are absolutely best in slot: Warwick, Quicksilver, Guinsoo's, and Titan's Resolve, you have a very solid top 4, maybe even top 1 game. Also, just to keep in mind, if you're like trying to figure out what item to slam really early on Warwick, Titan's Resolve is king. Titan's Resolve is absolutely nuts if you slam it early for Warwick. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you can slam this and get a Warwick 2, that can carry you through all of stage 2 and all of stage 3. And, after that, you get your Guinsoo's, get your Quicksilver, and Warwick's a monster. So that's Warwick reroll. I really don't have too much to say about it. It's still a very strong comp, so definitely look to play it. So without further ado, I've gone through the other top 4 comps. I'm baiting you. I'm stalling. It's Sivir. Sivir is so good, and this is the 6 Hextech variant of Sivir with the recent nerfs to Irelia's AD, Sivir's AD. Strikers are really not where you want to be right now. I mean, this comp plays 2, but you are not looking to play the 4 striker variant. You are looking to play the 6 Hextech variant with an Alistar, and then you get to play +1 unit, right? At level 8, you get to play 6 Hextech units, and Alistar takes up 1 slot. So that's 7 slots. You get +1 slot. You can play an 8th unit. This variant is using Silco, who is a very strong unit. It's going to make your front line live longer, going to make Sivir cast a lot quicker, make Draven cast quicker, which is going to increase the attack speed of Sivir. But you can also cut Silco and end up playing a Vi just to get in Bruiser and also a bit stronger of a front line here, and potentially get in 3 Enforcer when you go 9 and put in a Jace. So this is something that you can do as your level 9 variant of your comp. So this is probably like the most capped level 9 board, but at level 8, Silco does provide just a ton of utility. But I mean, if you look, Silco literally gives you 0 synergies, right? You don't care for Scholar whatsoever, but he's just that good of a unit that you would very much like to play him here. But if you can't find Silco, Vi is a totally fine unit to play that also opens you up to playing 3 Enforcer late game, which, if people didn't read the patch notes, Enforcer is now only 3 Enforcer. There's no 2 Enforcer and 4 Enforcer. There's just 3 Enforcer that always enforces the highest health target. So yeah, it's just a cracked comp. I think if you can get this comp with these units 2-starred, you should in most cases top 4. These items are best in slot on Sivir, Quicksilver, Static Shiv, and Guinsoo's Rage Blade. So try to get those items if you can. And that's the other thing that I would say is that Disintegrator is a really good augment. If you get a Disintegrator early on or late game and you're planning to play Sivir, the Sivir will absolutely shred through the entire enemy team. So keep that in mind when you're looking at augments. If you are looking to play Sivir most games, grab a Disintegrator and you will be shredding people. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Okay, now for just some general patch thoughts. First, I'm just going to talk about the tempo of the patch. I mean, if you look at these top comps, you can see there's nothing super aggressive. I mean, the most aggressive thing here is Warwick. Warwick, similar to, say, like Katarina last set, where people are just going to roll down on 3-2, hit a huge Warwick board, and in most cases, you're going to take a decent amount of damage if they hit their Warwick 2 with good items. So that's the biggest thing that's drawing pressure on you to roll down. But I really feel like this set has been basically the same sort of like tempo the entire set long. There's no patch where we're just rolling everything down at 6 one day, and then, the next patch we're waiting till 8 to roll everything down. Everything has just been a sort of like generic, balanced roll down tempo. If you have an incredibly weak board or a bunch of pairs, you can roll down at 6. At 7, you can do a lot of rolling if you just want to make your board better, and if you don't think you can make it to 8, and then, get a board that's stable enough to take you to level 8, and then roll the rest of your roll down. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a super fast or super slow tempo as far as the meta goes right now. It's really just a sort of regular balanced state where you can roll at 6, you can roll at 7, you can roll at 8. And I mean, I think that's really great. I think it's quite balanced. One thing I'll always say, despite the fact that I'm highlighting 5, and in this case it's like actually 6 comps here, there's a ton of viable comps. You can play so many different comps. So don't think that these are the only comps that you can play. These are, in my opinion, the strongest and most consistent comps, but these comps are, like these comps alone, if you just play this board, you are never going to go first unless you get like really good augments. You have to go level 9 and cap out your board and, you know, maybe not carry Sivir anymore and carry like a Jinx or a Kai'Sa or a Jace or something to like really go first. I mean, depending on what elo you get, you know, certain elos, this board surely can just go first. But yeah, or hit like a Sivir 3, but like there's a lot of different ways to cap out your board. You still have to be creative figuring out how to cap out your board at level 9. And then there are also lots of comps that you can just play that, you know, I am not showing right here. You can still play Twinshot Reroll if you get a high roll enough spot for it. It's just that I wouldn't force like Twinshot Reroll every game. So that's my little spiel about flexibility. And the last thing I want to talk about is items. So this is metatft.com. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what items I like to start, what items are really strong right now. So these are all items sorted by how MetaTFT categorizes items. Basically, they rank them based on some statistics and says, okay, these are the best items ever. One thing to point out, Innovator Emblem actually dropped a decent bit. It used to be one of the highest win rate items to get in the entire game, and now the average is a 4. You know, it's quite good. But, you know, it's 0.10 off of Clockwork Emblem. It's a ton off of these Radiants, obviously. Innovator, not as good this patch. And as you saw, I didn't highlight any Innovator comps because, I mean, Riot nerfed them. They nerfed the Dragon. They nerfed the Bear. They made it so that the 2 Innovator augment never shows up and that the 1 Innovator augment is a gold augment. So, Innovator's nerfed. So, that's one thing to keep in mind. The next thing to keep in mind is that a lot of these units use similar items. Sivir loves Quicksilver Guinsoo's Rageblade. What does Warwick love? He loves Quicksilver Guinsoo's Rageblade. What does Draven love? You can build Quicksilver Guinsoo's Rageblade on him, and it's pretty good. These Arcanist comps, they don't exactly love Quicksilver Guinsoo's Rageblade. I'll get to that in a sec. This comp, you're not building Quicksilver Guinsoo's Rageblade at all. That's a pretty, you know, like Twitch wants nothing that these other units want. Something very interesting, a little bridge between all these comps. Vex actually really loves a Quicksilver. Gives her dodge chance, makes it so when she's like your solo frontline, she doesn't get singed flip into your entire team. It's just a great item on Vex. So Quicksilver is actually a very flexible slam because you can play it in these AD comps or you can actually play it in the AP comps as a tank item on Vex. So that's why you see Quicksilver so high up there. It's just a really flexible item, and it's really good on some of the best carries. So think about building Quicksilver early if you get the components for it. I am of the opinion that Rod Start is really good right now, and that's because even the AD comps want at least 1 Rod for Guinsoo's, and then you can also build like a Morello's in basically any comp, and you know the AP comps obviously want multiple Rods. If you're going something like Morello's Gunblade for even Ahri or Malzahar, you can go those, obviously. Death Cap is still a great item. Lots of ways you can go with rods. So I'm a big fan of Rod Start. I think Morello's is quite a good slam if you're playing AP. Still definitely playable if you're playing AD, though, you know, it's not like Sivir holds Morello's. But you can start Rod, and, you know, if you get a bunch of bows, you can look to play AD. If you get, you know, a Morello's and some tiers, you can play AP, or flip those 2 around that I just said. Something interesting as well is that tier is also playable in this comp because Sivir loves a static Shiv. Warwick is okay with a static Shiv. You can replace this Guinsoo's with a static Shiv and it's alright, but it's not the best. The only downside is it makes Draven a lot harder to play because Draven does not like a static Shiv. So these are things to think about, but yeah, I think still, maybe not still, but now, Rod Start has eclipsed Sword as my favorite start. I used to like Sword because I thought it was very flexible, and I mean it was in the past to play AP or AD, but now I think Rod is more flexible than Sword because the value of things like Infinity Edge has gone down a lot with the fact that only one of the top 5 comps actually really wants an IE, and Draven wants it decently, you know. Draven likes Infinity Edge a lot, so if you get a Sword, you can still slam Infinity Edge and play these. The problem is Irelia is just not in the game anymore, and Sivir, you want to go this more AP magic damage on hit variant rather than the AD variant with strikers. So yeah, I'm rambling, but I just want to give you guys all the information that I have in my head right now, if that helps you guys climb at all. But yeah, that's all I got for you. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like the video, comment down below any thoughts you have, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out my Twitch in the description, and drop me a follow there. I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, that is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!